So anyway, looking forward to it. So I will call our meeting to order at 9:03. And would you please rise and join me in the flag salute? Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Now, before we do the roll call, we do have a new procedure in our state that allows board members, if they are not present, if a quorum of the board is physically present, there are very special exemptions in the law that allow board members to call in. They must be on video and available, as you saw, but they must state how they meet the exemption, and the board has to vote them in. So, Tom, you shouldn't have been so smart earlier. You meant I could vote in. So I think we need to. So first, are they prepared to share their exemption?
I have sent it, and I've gotten a confirmation from one, but not the other. But I think the other one's OJ's is going to be fine.
Okay, so OJ, basically, you have to state not all the details, but that you, I think you can share that you have a medical challenge that prevented you from traveling today. So if you could tell us that, I think that would be consistent with the law.
Yes,
correct?
it would.
Are you ready?
Yep.
I am participating remotely because of a need related to a physical disability, which constitutes just cause.
Thank
For
you.
both, before any action is taken, you also need to disclose whether anyone 18 plus years old are present, and they are, but they're in different rooms, not available to this broadcast.
Okay, so that meets the qualifications of the law. Are there any board members, any issue with any board members having OJ, board member Sutherland, I should say, participate virtually?
No.
Okay.
Objection.
Thank you. You're an easier vote, then you're in. Okay, Dr. Halverson, welcome.
Will it be a close vote?
We'll see. People's faces are looking a little nauseous. I'm just kidding.
Hey, I am participating remotely because I have a son having needs, which constitutes just cause. There will be one adult present somewhere in the house. It's my wife, Barbara. And I might add, just an aside, sometimes my Zoom comes and goes, so just be aware of that too.
Got it.
That's
Okay.
it.
That's fine. That's fine. Thank you, Tom. Sorry you're working through that, which you're working through. We'll be wishing you peace. Okay, any concerns with Dr. Halverson joining? None. You guys were easy. We can have fun with that. Okay, thank you both. You are in the meeting, so we can do roll call now. Thank you.
Right, Chairman Lewis.
Here.
All right, Vice Chair Martell.
Present.
Thank you. Secretary Halverson.
Present?
Thank you. Member Sutherland.
Here.
And Member Holmes.
Here.
And Member Siegel.
Here. All here. Great. Thank you. And to board members Sutherland and Halverson, thank you. What you each have going on, most people probably would just not be here. So I really appreciate your dedication, especially today.
Yeah.
Thank you both. And I know if you have to cut out, we do, but we tease and joke a lot, but in all seriousness, thank you both for your commitment and for being here. Most people wouldn't have been. So it means a lot to the school and to me. Thank you. Okay, are there any modifications to the agenda from any board members? If not, I'll ask for a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. The agenda is approved. This is the time and place for public comment. This is a special meeting of the governing board. This is
No,
regular.
it's regular.
So we're adjourning to tomorrow. We're just,
It's considered two separate regular meetings. So
Yeah.
also we
wow. Well, then you can talk about whatever you'd like. So this is the time and place for members of the public to speak about issues not on the agenda. In one of our locations to speak on issues not on the agenda. So are there any members of the public at this site wishing to speak?
Go for it, guys.
Well, yes, satisfaction. Love it. We'd love to hear from you. Okay.
You'll have an opportunity later.
And then are there any members at other sites or online, Ms. Jones?
There's nothing in the chat, nothing in the board email address. No hands raised.
Okay. Then,
So- Board Member Chairman, I'd just like to make an announcement to staff.
sure.
We'd love for you to stay as long and for the whole meeting. We're going to do a couple of fun things, as you said, as you heard Chairman Lewis say, but we're also going to be talking about the future. We also know if you need to go, because you have students to take care of, you may. But please come back and join us for lunch. We're going to have a working lunch so we can wrap things up for the board, but we bought lunch for all of you as well. Okay, so just wanted to make sure everybody knew that. But it would be fun to see how much your board members know about Pivot when we play our game.
I don't know the questions and answers either.
No.
This is a
Secret.
thing.
So anyway, but I just
All
wanted to
right.
let you know
Thank
so you
you,
guys felt
Sadie.
comfortable coming
Yeah.
and going.
Seriously, please, students are first. Okay, then I'll close public comment and we'll move on to reports and presentations to the board, starting with the world famous Trepepi Smith.
So if I can just cue it up while Kaylee's coming over, because Trepepi Smith has taken us from, our childhood to our adulthood for the last 12 years, we always do enjoy having them and their insights and their background and their understanding of our history. So at our strategic planning meeting, but Kaylee is going to be talking about how marketing works and what we've done in the past 12 months. So go for it.
Perfect. That's a great intro. Quick reminder, Kaylee Cummings and Charlie Smith. It's great to see some familiar faces and some new ones as well. And excited to dive into an overview of our marketing from this past year.
And just so you know, the microphones
Oh,
are right
over
over
there.
there. So
Okay.
Yeah, there's one here too. So.
And then the camera is right there.
You don't want your butt being filmed only. So,
You're out of camera.
Okay, perfect.
but can they hear? Is anyone saying
Yeah,
they can't
is there
hear her?
any issues getting-
Looks okay. The little microphone bars are going up.
Okay.
Perfect. Just to quickly walk through our agenda for today, just going to touch quickly on our firm's growth over the past year and then dive into a marketing overview and results from this past year's marketing efforts and some insights as we move forward. And I'll defer to Ryder to
Yeah,
quickly-
that was like 5 people a couple of years ago.
Sweet.
So Jana had asked that we just speak a little bit to the growth of the firm because, as noted, 12 years, we've been at working in the local government world and working with public agencies and special entities like Pivot for about 15 years. So 12 of those 15 have been working with you all. When we first started working with you, there were about 5 people on this team, 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Now we're at, we got a couple of part-timers, so we've got about 55 people on the team total these days. And this presentation isn't about us, it's about you guys, but part of your growth story and experience, we've had a big growth experience too. We've learned a lot. We try to share some of those experiences of growing an organization as well. Jane and I have had nice conversations about building team culture and what that looks like. The other thing I'd say is building up this team gives us just new capabilities. So we had 1 full-time graphic artist many years ago. We now have 7 graphic artists on the team. We have added a bunch of additional junior staff, which gives us the ability to scale down some of the resources we use so we can be as cost effective as possible when serving Pivot Charter School to save you money and to make sure as many resources as possible are directed to your students as is always a priority. So that's given us the ability, just by scaling the team, we get much more capability. And then we have specialists with skills. So several of the places on here work with Kaylee to support the account. Those 2 newest that joined you on the account,
Olivia Rosito and Sydney.
Sydney.
So I'm sure some of you have seen emails from them about helping coordinate our efforts. So.
they're 2 proud San Diego State Aztec grads, SDSUs. Sorry, not SDSU. San Diego, San Diego State.
Yeah.
SDSU grads. Anyways, so it's been a tremendous opportunity to work with you all. We appreciate it very much. There are a few folks we've worked with early on that have helped kind of make Trepepi Smith possible to get where we are. Pivot was definitely part of the story that helped us grow. And so we appreciate the trust you placed with us over a decade now.
Thanks,
Great.
Ryder.
I was thinking, is there
Good.
I was looking at that picture the other day. So Ryder sends out a monthly kind of
Newsletter,
missive,
yeah.
it's always thoughtful. This month was about how he thought he was taking over the world by now, but he won't quite. He wants to.
His empire is getting pretty
Yeah,
big.
it's getting pretty big because he's a great partner for cities and counties and governments. I was looking at that picture. Is there an internal cultural thing about where your picture, like, do people strive to move their picture closer to Ryder and to go? I was like,
I was
or
gonna say,
further
I
away, or
think
can you
it's
get moved away as
fine.
employee discipline or like that?
So it is purely chronological. So therefore, there's no discriminating factor on the chronology. So it tends to be more recent graduates. I should have, actually, that's not entirely true. Some of this is also about just seniority in the team. So it's mostly our principals and directors up top here and some corporate staff. And then it goes into our senior business analysts and on down.
That's great. No, that's great. And I did share, I think, with you, Ryder and Jana. I hope that you will all participate freely in our strategic discussions today. It's going to be more free because you see organizations in the state in a very different perspective than we do. It's much broader. And so I want to give you all please permission to speak real freely today as we talk to you. Thank you.
Perfect. With that,
Thanks, Ron.
under our belt, we can jump into more specific pivot items. First, some overview on the highlights of some different things this year. Starting first with our continued focus on inclusion. Splitting this year, we gravitated a little bit more towards English based on just how last year's allocation went. So we did about 3/4 English and 1/4 Spanish. And then I know you guys were all alluding this morning to a lot of the structural, organizational changes that have made things much easier on your team. And one of those was integrating school pathways with the help of Jasmine here. We really streamlined the process for the enrollment interest form. And so instead of working from our website and then transferring the information to the teams and then putting it into the systems, now it all goes directly into the system. So we're helping streamline that process and make the organization a bit easier on all of the staff.
See, I even have them using the word streamline. They're so sick of me saying that. They're even using it.
And then we've also been prioritizing photos. As you were saying too, we want to have a really representative view of what Pivot is doing and how you're working with students and populating your social media channels and the website and all of our online digital presence with what is actually happening at the schools is a really important piece of that. So you can see we've collected a lot of great photos over the past year through the help of our coordinators like Courtney, and that's been a really big help in producing that vision and being representative of the work that's all happening at the schools. We've also kind of augmented that effort with a more professional approach. So each year we'll do a photo shoot at one of the schools, and this year we started with Riverside. So having some more of that stock imagery available so that we can refresh our advertising efforts on the digital front. And then lastly, and all of these have been kind of underscored by our partnership with staff, but that's been something we've been really prioritizing as well, joining in the campus leader meetings on a regular basis so that we can just connect and all be on the same page about marketing efforts, get everyone's ideas in the mix, and work together to drive enrollment. And then also continuing with our staff recognition efforts and doing those designs for the pens and pennants that everyone loves.
We do. Your team does too,
We'll
right?
see.
This year.
I'm trying to steal that idea in our city too.
Yeah.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I talked to Ryder earlier. I just want to say what a great job your photographers did at our graduation and do every year. They are amazing. I'm a photographer, but so I especially appreciate it. But that's so important for the kids to be able to see that, and especially because we're back having in-person graduation. So
Yeah.
your company's always done a great job.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Then taking a quick look at our kind of overview of our marketing tool set, so to speak. We do seasonal newsletters. This year we shifted from 3 to 2, just to scale back, but those are really great in reaching both the current student body and their families, as well as leads from the past 3 years. And from there, we're featuring curriculum updates. Kristen here, students will be featuring Ian in this next round. So really showcasing all the great work that's happening on campus. And arming our students with that information to share within their communities and also sending that out to past leads. And then we also work with a slew of print advertisers with each campus, so connecting in the local communities so that we have a presence institutionally in just their newspapers and magazines that have the readership. And then we also have been working with Niche. Last year we kind of piloted that with North Bay and San Diego just to increase the digital presence of Pivot and also have the search engine optimization that Niche offers. So this year we expanded that to also include Riverside and North Valley. So everyone has a profile on Niche, and in case people are
What
not
is it?
familiar with that
Come on,
platform.
hold it out.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Yelp for schools. It's like a directory of information and people can put reviews there, but it kind of has an overview of the school, and having a kind of more professional profile with Niche allows us to customize the user experience on Pivot's pages and optimize it so that it's more visually engaging and representative of the work that's happening at Pivot.
So some of these sites like Niche, Chairman Lewis does they pull from the dashboard and CDE's websites, and that's all that the public sees. So if we don't get an account and be able to say, and this is who we serve and what we're doing, it like might not look as good as we'd like it to.
Yeah, we're able to kind of help explain the narrative of how Pivot operates and the students that you serve, and how all of those information and metrics work together with your guys' mission to transform students' experience in education.
Great.
And then another new thing this year, we worked in San Diego to have a booth at the San Diego Union Tribune Festival of Books. So there we are also a sponsor of like an interactive engagement wall. So that was really exciting, amazing to integrate kind of more local outreach in San Diego. And I know we saw on the enrollment form that at least one person was a direct enrollee from that process. And then of course we have our usual digital summer ad campaign, and I'll dive into more specifics on that in the next few slides. But first, kind of addressing the question that everyone really wants to know, which is how are students hearing about Pivot? And it's no surprise that friends and current students are the top answer for that. The culture that's cultivated here and the style of learning that's happening is something that spreads naturally through word of mouth. And so that's something that we want to continue pressing into and expanding the opportunities for that word of mouth impact through things like our newsletters and the swag that we're giving to students when they join. So something that we're helping cultivate as well. And then the second thing here is Google search, which is goes to show the importance of maintaining your online presence through things like Niche and leveraging Google as a strong platform for our digital advertising. And then our third most popular is counselors and current schools. We do some outreach to counselors through our work, but definitely goes to show that there's a market that we can tap into to further those connections and help explain Pivot's story to other local networks and help drive our enrollment efforts as well.
Did you love having that data? I mean, we used to rely only on what they told us verbally and stuff, so it's
Yeah, and
pretty
one thing
telling.
too is in the school pathways form, we have an option to kind of describe. It's not a required question, but you can describe how you heard about it. So we have these options set out, so it makes it a little bit easier for us to track and revisit our marketing efforts and see where we should apply more concentration.
On Spotify, can you so you can probably choose which playlist students, so we can try and pick that kind of music that they hear our advertising.
Yeah, we have some control over it based on interests and things like that. There's targeting options. I can't recall if music style is one of them, but definitely based on interest and there are those targeting options for
80s hair bands probably isn't a great playlist for us.
Right,
It's
exactly.
good for me, but
I was gonna say,
and
but
Ryder,
it's good for
that's
the
right,
parents.
but,
For the
probably not a good
parents,
one.
it's good for the parents.
And then can we compensate students for referrals that we cannot do that?
Not with public dollars, but we've done some.
Not with public dollars, but what if we had other revenue streams? Man, all right, good to know.
Exactly. So that's something that we'll look more into, how we can work in some incentives and things for referrals too, so we can continue to amplify that impact. And next we have our kind of biggest concentrated effort for marketing, which is the summer digital campaign. This year we split it out a little bit differently into a spring and summer, so late spring and late summer versus through the entire summer duration. We had found from our past year that there was sort of more lull in the middle of summer when people are probably more focused on enjoying their family vacations than the end of school when they're thinking about next year's school or the beginning of the school year when they're making more last minute decisions on enrollment. So that was some of the thought process behind the timeline. And just to give a quick overview on the kind of logistics of digital advertising, what we'll do is allocate a budget to the various platforms, and the dollars will get spent based on the engagement. So if the engagement's not there, the dollars won't be spent, and vice versa. So that provides a little bit of context into how come you might see the allocation be higher and the actual spend be lower or higher based on that. So here I have graphed out the spring and summer kind of separate here, so you can see in San Diego we had a great trajectory at the beginning, and then part of our reasoning for that break in the summertime is because we are seeing the like lower dip at the end of the spring session and at the beginning of the middle of the summer session. So this year in San Diego, we had a great result on our Google and Facebook advertising with a peak weekly enrollment of 6 students in a week, and an overall cost per student of $364. San Diego is our most expensive digital advertising, but this is, I want to say last year's cost per student was about $800
Yeah, it
a
was.
student for San Diego, so this year we're seeing a lot more success in the way that we approached the reach. We also expanded our audience to be more countywide and leaned more into the virtual offerings of the campus. And then moving a little more north into Riverside, you can see we had a peak weekly enrollment of 8 students. Riverside has typically performed strongly in our digital advertising, so we didn't change much about the approach there. Allocated more toward Google and Facebook and spent about $189 per student enrolled. And then next we have North Valley. So North Valley made some more strategic decisions on how we allocated our digital funding this year. We allocated a lot less in the digital space just because the market's not quite there for that. In past years, we've allocated more, but it just won't hit those spending targets. So we'll have that bucket of funds to use later, but we want to be able to use that when the market is quite right. So now we allocated less in the beginning and we're able to use those funds earlier on to support things like bus side ads and the bus shelter ads, which was new, the bus side ads this year. So because we had a lower spend, we were able to spend actually more of our funds that we had allocated digitally, and we saw success throughout the campaign in that regard with a cost per student of $123.
So did you catch that? We literally have a bus side ad
Yeah.
in North Valley. So it's the first time we ever did that. But it-
Oh, so we
I
did,
never
we
told
did
you
the bus
that.
shelter,
We've
not
done
the
We
bus
did
bus.
bus shelter, but we
before.
did, we did a
Spanish,
bus.
But
That's
this
just
year we
Yeah.
put it on the side of the bus.
Yeah?
A pink size ad on the side.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Is it your picture, Jana? Like thumbs up?
No, it's our buddy from here
Oh,
that's
that-
now like 25. But
Yeah, he probably is like, he's like a grandpa now. With a blue hat, like.
Yeah, but we took the hat off, or they took the hat off. One of their 7 graphic artists took the hat off. So,
But that's part of our efforts in kind of revitalizing some of those photos and doing photo shoots at each of the campuses every year. Is helping keep those things fresh and new for each year. Yeah. So then moving on to North Bay. North Bay, we have the biggest market for digital advertising. It usually performs really strongly. This year was no different. With a peak weekly enrollment of about 20 students and a really low cost per student at just $68.
wow. Hence our 200 student
The
something
other company
wait
spent like
list.
$10,000 a student.
Yes, they should remain
Really?
nameless.
That doesn't pencil out. That's what you get per student.
Yeah.
None of we broke.
And just to get a big overview on kind of all of these side-by-side notes, helpful to see it by campus, but looking kind of more specifically at the platforms. And this graph is a bit skewed based on our budget allocations. We typically allocate the most towards Google and then to Facebook, and then the other ones were kind of newer experimentations. So this just goes to show that all campuses are responding to our online advertising, especially Facebook and Google. And then YouTube, we have allocated the least amount of funding this year to YouTube, but we were using kind of older footage that we had, so to keep costs low, but something to consider for future kind of revitalizing that along with our photo efforts, and trying some new approaches to video, more in line with maybe the TikTok style that is more popular now, or how we can leverage the market to best connect with students and prospective families on YouTube.
How are we doing with the Spanish-speaking students? I know we were kind of, that was something we needed to do more, and we needed to outreach. Is this an increase in spending, or have we had, are we measuring how that's working?
Yeah, we reduced the spend allocation towards Spanish advertising a little bit this year. I want to say last year it was 37% we had put towards Spanish, and this year is closer to 25%. Part of that was due to the fact that when we were doing the digital advertising, it just wasn't being spent. So we wanted to be able to use those funds where it might have more impact. That was just with the English speaking audience. But it's something that we'll continue to evaluate as we go through the process. And this presentation and reviewing the metrics in this capacity allows us to see kind of bigger picture where there are strengths and weaknesses in the campaign. So finding how to leverage that and improving for next year.
We have a couple Spanish speakers. I'd ask. I don't know. I mean, the English and Spanish speakers are on the same platforms. Do Spanish speakers have different platforms entirely than Facebook and Spotify? You know, I don't know. No.
No, and the platforms are pretty well integrated to language modification. So now you'll see like translation features are built into those platforms. So we'll leverage our targeting to specifically go toward a Spanish speaking audience, and that will work accordingly.
And we've been in Spanish periodicals before, magazines, things like that.
Spanish radio ads. on
Spanish
some of the
radio
Spanish
ads.
speakers.
Well, the state and our scoring or whatever was kind of, we were efficient, right?
Yeah,
A little bit. We're
yeah,
working on it.
we are,
We're doing great.
we are,
We're gonna keep working on it.
we are.
Okay.
Right,
We're gonna
Lucas?
keep working on it.
Yes, yes.
And then just to kind of overview some of the bigger strategic changes and canvas highlights that I've touched on already. In San Diego, we augmented our outreach with increased kind of community involvement with the San Diego Union Tribune Festival Books event, and then also expanded the countywide targeting so that we could see more of a reach on our digital advertising. Riverside and North Bay, we kind of sustained our current approach, which has been working really well over the past few years. So don't want to fix what's not broken, and that continued to perform really strongly. And then in North Valley, we opted for more of that community outreach over some of the digital ad allocation that we typically do, utilizing the print ads and bus ads and all of those efforts to create their full package of advertising efforts, which also worked really well. And then pivot-wide, we revamped the strategy for the timing. So I think we saw a lot of success out of cutting out that middle section of the summertime when people are not thinking as strongly about as enrollment for next year. And then we streamlined some of our budget allocation by minimizing info nights. Something that we had talked about last year's presentation was that we were just seeing a decline in participation on those info nights. So we reduced the number of them so that we could use that budget towards something that's having more of an impact. And then lastly, investing in those photos and getting that representative view of Pivot is an important part of what we've been working on so that we can have the full story and picture of what's happening at the schools being told. And then as we continue to look ahead, we're always learning from each year's advertising campaign, so reallocating things accordingly. But what stood out to me was the word of mouth impact and how we can continue to expand that. So one thing that we've been working on through our recent meetings is how we want to approach swag for students in the coming years and how we can have them be representative of Pivot in the community in the most effective ways. And then exploring how we can maybe have referral incentives so that we can continue to maximize that impact of current students. And then secondly, the strengthening of local school networks and really providing the resources for staff to get connected with other counselors and the local communities so that Pivot is kind of institutionalized in their communities and has that recognition that people will just know to enroll at Pivot.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of the whole thing. If you
Thanks,
have any
Kayla.
questions, I'm happy to answer.
They know us well too, Pepe Smith does. And they make sure if they have any people, key staff change, that there's a lot of overlap so that there's always someone on our team that really does know us well. Because they promote a lot in their organization too. But we're going to hang on to Kaylee for a while since we have two other new people. So
Yeah, that's great. Tom or OJ, did you have any questions? Can't see if you're raising your hand. No? Okay, great. Board members, anything? Okay, then this was a report to the board. Thank you. Great job.
thank you,
Great
Pepe
job.
Smith and Kaylee.
Okay, Ms. Gaskell, you're up next.
Yeah.
Planning. Awesome.
All right.
And Ms. Jones,
And
sing the good news.
yeah, and Kristen and Abigail, I've asked them to chime in as well. All right. You are a team. Ms. Martell, Mr. Siegel, you are a team. OJ and Tom, you don't have a
The
buzzer,
game show, buddy.
but you are a team. They can raise their hand if they know how to. In the bottom right-hand side, there's a hand on your screen.
Or just say yo or something.
Yeah, just jump in and scream, but you have to be the buzzers, because they have buzzers here. So when I was meeting with board members about how to set up this meeting and what we're gonna talk about, I said, you know, we always spend so much time going over so much, like, the state of the state about how the students are doing. And we're still gonna do that, but we're gonna do it faster and shorter this time so we can tackle the real issues. Because the board members do need to know what we're doing to address certain things, as you've heard already. And that was asked universally, so there is data. But I said, you guys know who we serve. You know how we do it, right? This is old hat to all these experienced board members. And they said, yes. And I said, great, I'm gonna test you. And that's what this is. So if you could open up. It has a link. Yeah. Yeah, sorry. I thought I said that right. Yeah, so go to 3 teams. Yeah, start. Yeah. All right. All right, now y'all know Jeopardy, right? The answer is, and then when you're giving what you think is the answer, you have to put it in the form of a question, or you're gonna hear my buzzer go, okay? Because you have to put it in the form of a question just for fun, right? And the categories are pupils and parents, your colleagues, meaning board members, and you know each one of you had a question, you're not allowed to answer your own question.
I'll do it. That's the only one I'm gonna get right.
No, I bet you'll get some others. Amazing employees and the school program. And you are just like Alex Trebek bless you, Alex Trebek. You are allowed to say like pupils and parents for 500. So we're gonna call the Martell Siegel team number 1. We're gonna call the Lewis and Holmes team number 2. And we're gonna call our online team of OJ and Halverson team number 3. And Liz, if you can track their points, if you don't mind, because you're running this thing, and if you click at the bottom, it'll add their points accordingly. So are there any questions? And zip it. You are not allowed to give hints. You're not allowed to whisper. You're not allowed to whisper. Don't be talking to each other. They have big ears. And there are sometimes nuances to the answers that I will accept. And there's several answers on 1 or 2 of them that I know of. And if we need a tiebreaker because y'all think it's true and I don't, then Ariana's going to be the tiebreaker. So, all right. We'll start with team number 1. Board member Martell and Siegel. What category and how much?
We'll take school program for
Let's go 500.
500.
Whoa.
Holy
You
cow.
better know the
Well,
answer.
there's actually, this is not a daily double, but there's a bonus question that any team can answer at the end, I believe. So, this is what DAS stands for. Remember to put it in the form of a question. 5 extra points if you know which schools qualify for DAS.
What is the dashboard for accountability for student support?
Did you bring that?
He didn't bring it.
I did.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't hear it. No. Would anybody else like to ring in on this? Oh, Pat, did you?
No, I was trying
We
to
were
be.
testing. We were
Oh,
testing.
okay.
out.
I was trying to be
Make
him.
the noise.
So do they get negative points?
No.
Yeah.
No. That's how it works.
I mean, it is actually how it works. We could.
Well, you didn't say that. We can get it going forward.
Yeah,
I would have kept my
there's
mouth
a
shut.
negative sign. There's a negative sign.
All right, so we're
See
gonna
where
play that
this is
way.
going.
All right.
Should we? All right.
Well, keep starting.
Does Tom?
Going forward.
Does Tom know?
So Tom,
Or
OJ.
OJ?
Nope.
Nope.
Oh, well, if Tom doesn't know,
That sounded
then
really
this is
good.
like an
Well,
impossible
okay.
answer.
Because it was new since he's been a
So I get half points for having a really close guess.
superintendent. Well, they picked the hardest question in the
Right.
entire board.
Okay, do we get more points for that?
No, but we'll give you
That's like the
5.
hardest class.
We'll give, would you like to give the answer? I
We're
know
just
since
done.
you did it, it's done.
Dashboard alternative state school.
No. Ooh.
Whoa!
Good guess.
Well,
Good guess.
It is a pain in the butt. That's why I made this the highest, the most.
Chico and Santa Rosa.
That is 1. Anybody else? That's 5 points for them. There is another.
I said 2. I said Chico and Santa Rosa.
Oh, and Santa Rosa. Sorry, I didn't hear that part. I just heard Chico. Yes.
So
All right,
five for
that's
each?
5 points. No, just 5.
Hey.
5 points instead of 500. I'll be like a 1 point bet in football. Another 5 points.
You're in the lead.
Dashboard alternative school status.
Ugh.
Status. So, yes, Mr. Hobart, question.
It also stands for depression, anxiety, and stress.
Yes, he Googled it.
Yeah.
All right, that was the toughest one. So,
Back to you
so
guys.
from here on out, we will do negative. Since you didn't know, I don't think Jim would have chimed in if he knew it was going to go negative. So
Okay,
we won't-
negative. Okay.
We won't go negative, but from here on out, we
Okay,
will.
we'll go school program for 100.
And the answer is, it documents claims of attendance or is needed for attendance, to create attendance. Yes,
Go ahead.
team number 1.
ADA.
No.
Hmm.
Documents claims of attendance, so it documents the ADA. So negative 100 for them. Oh,
There you go,
no.
Tom. Understand you're in second place.
Steve,
No,
I'd
we are
rather
now.
lose.
We need to-
Thank you. Same.
All
Not
right.
yes.
No guess, OJ? Are there any, OJ, Tom?
Down here.
We're playing the smart game.
They just want to stay like any staff person like to enlighten the board? Documents the claims of attendance. What do we need to get attendance? No, that's documents
was
the
our answer.
attendance. Documents. Representatives. Yeah. Thank you. Work samples, assignments, work samples.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Logging in.
Who wrote these questions?
Logging in would have worked. I would have given you that if you had said logging in. I would have.
All right, we're out.
I would have accepted engaging in learning. I would have accepted educational activity. I would have accepted.
Okay, I'm
work
gonna do
samples.
colleagues for 100. I'm gonna give
All right,
you-
Yeah.
college 100. Sorry. All right. The answer is a board member who broke the handlebars of their bicycle delivering the Sunday holiday edition of the Orange County Register. Did you bang?
Dr. Tom Halverson.
Steve. Steve.
Yes.
I mean, I was the I can't answer the question.
Tom wins.
Halverson
I
wins.
lose.
Halverson wins. Is your buzzer working? Because I can't. hear
Yeah.
it. Is it? I don't think your buzzer's
It-
working.
Mine works.
Yeah, it works.
Oh, that's
It's
funny.
just
I can't
funny.
hear it as well. All right. Thank you.
All
Got
right.
a point.
Halverson.
Okay.
Ross.
Who is-
No, we're negative 95.
Yeah, it we went the Edward up for 5.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Tom's driving the board.
All right, Tom, what category?
We're going to go with your colleagues 200.
Okay. And the answer is the personification mascot nickname, the Cat in the Hat.
What? Hats.
Oh. Tom shouted first.
I know. What were you gonna say?
Nope, nope.
Tom
No, it was
first.
kind of simultaneous. So, who were you gonna say?
OJ Southern.
Tom had it. That's why. And Tom had it. It is Pat Martell.
Oh, no wonder
You lose money on your own team.
Answer for ourselves.
Okay, we're not allowed to answer.
Yeah.
Very disciplined.
Yeah.
Explain that.
Choose again.
Explain that.
Yeah.
I want to know more
yes,
about
I'm sorry.
Orville Martell.
So when I first learned to read, my favorite books were Dr. Seuss books.
Huh.
And so my family referred to me as the Cat in the Hat because I'd always get books. But then where it became most important is when I was working every year on Dr. Seuss Day, I would go read in the schools. And I had a whole Cat in the Hat outfit.
Oh.
So I'd wear it and then I'd go read.
Awesome.
That's good.
That's why we're playing this game. Not we do want to win, but that's okay.
Sure
All right.
we do.
Tom,
Yes,
who,
that is
who's
exactly
Tom is
right.
still driving the bus, right?
Yes, Tom. Choose a
Well, by the
category.
way, I knew that about Pat, so you know. Your
You
colleagues
know
for
that.
300.
Colleagues for 300, and the answer is they sold dog licenses door to door for the city when they were little.
Oh, that had to be Jen Lewis.
It was not Jim Lewis.
Okay. Oh, I wanted to take my colleague here to my left.
He's a bad boy.
I'm not gonna do that. I don't know. You don't, these are, how much is this one? 300?
300.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's gotta, that's gotta be Ralph.
Hot dog licenses when Tom was a kid.
I think dogs are still like chasing after coyotes and like, food.
Okay, nobody's getting points on this one. Well,
OJ just guessed.
I understand that. Will the person who this is please announce themselves?
It's me, and we get another point for that.
Did OJ guess correctly?
No, he said me.
Oh, he
Why
did
didn't
say-
you let
that's right,
OJ
I'm
No,
sorry.
no, OJ didn't say anything.
I thought it was OJ.
He didn't say a word.
I thought it was OJ. Sorry.
No, he didn't say anything.
I'm
I understand OJ buzzed in.
Yeah, no, we're going negative. Sorry. I don't have my answers in front of me, so I know one of these.
Oh, this is
All right,
great.
sorry, go ahead. So then
Still them, I think.
it's still Tom, yes. Who's?
All right, whose turn is it?
You.
Yours.
All right, let's go. Keep it going, baby. Your colleagues for 400.
We're doing so well.
Their nickname was Wahoo, and they worked their first job picking hops at the age of 8.
OJ.
That is correct. That is correct. It was OJ Sutherland.
Wahoo! OJ, tell us about
Yeah.
that.
So, Wahoo,
Do you care to elaborate, OJ?
well, in those days, there was no TV, so it was a cartoon character on a radio comic program.
Huh. Cool.
Wahoo.
Wahoo.
Isn't that like Yahoo's?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Thank you. All right.
Okay, OJ.
It is the Halverson OJ choice.
Okay, we're going to go. Your colleagues for 500. The answer is Jim.
Let us get to the question. No. Oh.
He didn't formulate a question.
Who is board member Holmes?
Yes. So, yes, there were only 5 things, and
Because Tom loses though because he guessed incorrectly.
yes, you guessed it.
No,
correct. Did you not realize
no.
only 5
No.
categories and 6 board
That's right.
members.
He said Jim Lewis.
He said
that.
Yes, he is negative. Now, Mr. Lewis, will you please share yours? Because I only have 5 categories and I didn't do that.
Oh, mine was I was on a nationwide TV game show at the age of 7. Wow. Called Child's Play. And I won a lifetime supply of Tootsie Rolls that I probably ate in about 6 weeks. So
Didn't last.
Bill Cullinan was the host, so it was kind of fun.
So,
That was
It's
to
exciting.
throw you all off because I didn't get 6 answers and we only had 5 categories. All right, so then
We're in. Ralph's thinking of
yeah, Ralph, pick one.
Amazing employees for 100.
There we go. All right, and the answer is their title is the director of CIA.
Oh, we just heard this. Turn that. Just
Like somebody's
You
gonna
know,
buzz
they're-
about it.
I know.
Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6,
I don't remember hearing
5,
it.
4, 3.
Abigail.
That's what I was gonna guess. You win. You win.
He even said it.
I was like,
She
we're ahead. I don't want to lose any points.
didn't know.
We were playing
that
defense.
she was
We were
up.
now.
So, anyways, that was kind of funny. I was laughing. All right,
I
go ahead.
answered in the form of a question. We can't.
I know.
Oh!
Nobody's-
We'll give him a break. We'll give him a little break. All right. You're in the driver's seat.
Amazing employees for $200.
Amazing employees for 200. Yeah, what is, or who is the first Pivot Roads Education employee?
Who is
Robert. Robert, I got it first.
You're first.
First.
No.
He just said up.
Robert Breyer's doing this.
We didn't have it buzzers, so.
I got you. I got you.
All right.
What are you doing? I'm giving away points.
Yeah, all right.
What are you doing?
We're
All right, we'll keep
we're gonna
amazing
let-
employees for 300.
Yeah. The answer is they teach
I thought it was
students
just
to
a
make
newsletter.
beanies for premature babies.
Oh.
It was
Yes.
Anatoso.
No.
Oh!
Math and soil science.
You're always on my mind.
Anybody online? O'Shea, Dr. Halverson?
Nope, I have no idea.
No.
In the newsletter.
It was in the newsletter, and I sent you a photo of the
Yeah.
beanies.
I know you
saw
did.
them.
I can see him. It was cute.
We should do some research.
It was in the same email. It was in
All
the-
right, it is Gus Munoz out of Riverside.
Oh, that's what I was.
Yay.
Out of Riverside.
All right.
All right.
Am I
It's
still
still
in
your
charge?
turn.
Yeah, we had 400 amazing employees.
And the answer is they had a minimum of 4 careers before participating in a hobby as a professional photographer.
Who's Bob?
Thank you.
There we go.
All right. Nice job. Who is Bob Firestone? All
Yo,
right.
finish out amazing employees for 500.
All right. And they not only teach full-time at Pivot, but and there's a couple answers to this one, but they play in a popular band with many paid gigs. There's several answers. Several answers. Some that you guys have done.
Was this
I read 500.
Yeah, no,
Oh, that's right, it's 500. That's
500.
It's
It's high, this one.
Right.
O'Shea or Tom?
Nope.
All right, nobody wants negative 500.
Okay.
John, you've done gigs before that you've been paid for, haven't you? Or at least you have played public
Oh, yeah.
events. Anna has, Chris Briggs has, and Tim Mayhew is the one that's in the band that travels all over the world, if you remember. Right? There's at least 4 that I know of. There might be more, but I knew of at least those 4 were on my mind.
All right.
How many
All right.
points do you
Pupils and
get?
parents for 100.
And the answer is 56%.
What is it?
What
I
is your
got it.
score for previous bad games?
Steve's
Tom,
IQ.
what do you got?
Tom, what did you say?
It's Steve's IQ.
All right, real.
All right, go ahead. Answer. What is the average percent of students who are either low-income English language learners or foster students throughout Pivot schools? No, ranges from 45 to San Diego, and that's how I got 50.
That's a good thing for us to know.
Take
Yes,
some
it is.
points off for the first
Yes,
answer,
it is.
please.
No, those are fun.
All right,
Okay, 200. Yeah.
the answer is 29%.
I was going to say the approval rating of the state legislature was lower. No, Congress was at 19%.
Dr. H, you know this one.
Okay.
Yeah, you should.
All right.
All right, answered up. What's the answer? What is the average percent of students Pivot-wide who qualify for special education?
Oh.
All
I was kidding.
right,
Yeah.
all right, keep going.
All right, 300. Let's go.
This is possible.
The answer is
Okay.
This is painful.
What is the number after
What?
29?
Is this a real guess?
The average class size.
Wait, is that a real guess? Are you
No, that's
Yes.
a real guess.
okay?
Average class size?
It's gotta
So
be
the
smaller
answer,
than that.
please. What is the amount of credits high school students strive to earn in a semester? The answer, the number that you were looking for was 28. Is the average caseload for each education.
I was
That was
close.
a good guess.
There was a
Tom,
good
that was a
guess.
good guess.
No, no.
I
But you
was
still lost
close to
300.
where we should get the point.
Yeah.
Still lost 300.
No lobbying for forgiveness. Okay, pupils and parents, 400.
The software through which Pivot communicates to all parents, students, and staff for mass messages, and the answer is, what is?
Open them up.
Communicates parents, students, staff, mass.
No, that's
messages.
the career with. Wow, this game is only succeeding in irritating board members and making us look stupid. I'm sorry I gave you this idea.
What is parent square?
I I didn't know that.
All right,
All right.
next one, 500.
That's why it was for 400, you know.
I mean, there was a writer's.
The days and times, Jada and Luis do the parent trainings in English and Spanish respectively. There's a couple of different answers I'll take. Parent trainings.
Days and times?
No, it could be either. I don't care.
You know, it's not Saturday or
Talk about
Sunday.
it in
If you miss
February.
it, you have to go.
Probably not Friday.
We talk about
5
it.
o'clock.
That's why I pulled that. No. All right, and the answer is Tuesdays and Thursdays, 12 to 1. And again, it was just for my last
I almost want to say
presentation.
Thursday
That's
till
why
1 because I
put it in there.
joined in on that one
Yes,
in San Diego.
yes, and
Oh, well.
you've been in on one.
But at noon, I thought it was at 4.
At the beginning of the school year, you're right, it wasn't.
So you're gonna
But I
put
would
it
have
wrong.
taken that as an answer. All
School
right,
program for 200.
and the answer is the ed code name for an educational coordinator, ed pivot, or a teacher in independent study. It frequently comes up when we're talking about legislation and whatnot. This should have been a $500 one, to be honest with you. So, all right, it is called teacher of record.
Teacher.
Yeah, teacher of record.
All right.
That should have been a 500.
300.
That's tough.
Yeah.
What this calls each period of time to complete 3 or 4 classes for grades 6 through 12. That one we talked about a lot, and it's in the newsletter. Yes.
What is a block?
Yes.
Wait, to save the board.
Nice.
Someone's listening.
All right.
That was
No.
Wait,
solid.
that's the point. I just did. Oh, okay.
You got yourself out of debt.
Oh. The name of the educational platform. There's a couple of different answers that I will accept on this, but I'm really looking for the platform. But
If it's something that students use to access courses
Yes.
or to learn.
Yes.
I ready?
Oh, that's a number of students
I'll
use that.
accept that, but I will give more points for the next one because that is one of them. It is a platform that they do their, so I'll give more
It's
credit.
not the main one, but it is.
It is not the main one, but I will give credit for that. Anybody else on other platforms? Other places they log in, people who attended
You
my
say it all the
training. I talk to my parents about it all the time. She talks about it all the
You
time.
say it all the time. I know.
The curriculum used to be called Apex and Admentum and Accelerate, and now it is all on the platform called, everybody? Buzz!
Oh, we didn't know. You
Yes,
know.
yes.
Now, the good news about this, Jana, is the board is oblivious to the operation of the school, which means that's why we count on you. You're focused on the bigger policy issue.
Right.
We're staying in our
How's that-
lane.
how's that-
We're staying in our
A quick
lane.
teaching
That
thing
was
that
fun.
would be fun.
Where's that taken?
That's
So
fine.
that's all it was meant to do.
Very good, very good.
All right.
And we just destroyed the board members. Keep doing it.
Nobody did negative. Yes. So, yes. All right, moving on.
Wait, hang on, I think you should review the scores.
Yeah, let's review those scores. All right. We keep moving on. That was
That's
fun.
right.
Buy them their first
That was fun.
adult beverage later.
Thank
All
you
right.
all for playing. And
Yes,
we-
that was
and
fun.
I wanted us to do something a little different, a little more fun, to learn school about each other. So thanks for being good sports.
It was better than a bunch more slides, right?
Great.
All right. I'm not even giving you a Sunday, we're just diving right in, all right? We're gonna talk about, hold on, let me regather myself.
And this is
Moving
to prepare us now for strategic planning, right?
Yes.
Conversation.
So I've met with each one of you individually over the last couple of weeks. And obviously, Mr. Lewis and I met to set up, exactly where we wanted to go with this, and then everybody else gave their input. We need to, as an organization, let them know what we're doing with some of the things that are areas for growth for us. But as importantly, as Mr. Lewis alluded to, I give them updates all the time. And I've said this to all of the staff at staff meetings, but I mean it, and you're gonna see the proof in the pudding today if you don't already know. This is the strongest year Pivot has ever had. And so I wanted to show the board why I can confidently make that statement. Also, we're gonna look at where we have some gaps and what we're doing about them already. And we're gonna talk about some opportunities that might be coming up, some potential threats. And then we're gonna dive into at least 3 topics of conversation based on what board member feedback has given me. And I don't know where that's gonna go because these are the people who really direct and compass the direction of the school. and where we want to go. And yes, the leadership team has chimed in on what we were asking feedback from the board on, and guidance from the board on. And when the board gives us guidance and feedback, staff, that means that they're suggesting and informing me that they want us to put some capacity and possibly some fiscal resources behind whatever it is that they're giving us guidance on. So that's kind of how this works. So let's dive in. Greatest strength is we unlock student potential. Anybody disagree with that? Man, this year has been an example of that more than any other. We have incredible staff. As it was alluded to already, the reallocation of responsibilities and new roles and promotions and moving people around, really, I think, in my opinion, and my role didn't change, it was other people's roles that changed, has made us super strong. We've been able to accomplish more this year than ever before with some of the new roles and some of the changes to the educational coordinator job as well. But that was like 2 years ago. We created those flexible schedules for teachers, and it sounds like they're happy about it. I like that they can have work from home days if everything is going well. I keep saying this and it changes the next day, but we are fully staffed, and we've been fully staffed as of last week. We'll talk more about staffing tomorrow specifically. We're not going to go down into details. And we have 40 staff members who have completed the multi-tiered system of support grant, thanks to Ms. Poitras, and that's about 60 hours worth of work per person.
That's impressive.
And we got a grant. We were able to pay them for their hours, roughly, and I think Liz told me that it was $93,000 so far allocated directly to the teachers for those MTSS. And the MTSS, if you remember, I didn't put it up there, but multi-tiered system of support where whenever a student isn't being successful, we jump on it right away. We have student success team meetings, SSTs. We've improved that process this year, but a huge part of it is the training and for everybody having the same buy-in on it. Bill? Sorry. I'm going to turn this over to Kristen just to fill you in on what Pivot Pride is. We've talked about it a couple of times, but it's really taking off. And Ryder, remember our conversations about school culture? Ding, 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 ding. I'll turn it over to Kristen.
Yeah, so Jana Askey, I'm Kristen Poitras, again, Director of Student Support Programs. I just want to talk to you guys a little bit about Pivot Pride. I know she mentioned you have heard of it, but I don't know how much you know, so just going to give a little overview, review, and update of how it's going. So this is a program that we fully launched this fall. We did kind of a soft launch in the spring. We created this from the need we saw within our school community that we need to bring students together to build a community, to build a culture, especially post-COVID, and also a way to bring our students the social emotional skills and competencies that they would need to succeed not only in independent study, in school in general, and also in life. So the counseling team and I got together, we brainstormed a lot of different ideas, and ultimately what we came up with is a program called Pivot Pride. We wanted to use the word pride very intentionally because we know our students come to us from a variety of different experiences, having not felt good about their past experiences in school, maybe not feeling good about themselves, and we wanted to build that pride in their school, pride in belonging to this community, pride in themselves. And the next step was identifying 5 characteristics to go along with that embody the vision, the mission, core values of what we want for our students. So we identified perseverance, readiness, inclusivity, dedication, and excellence as the 5 characteristics that we strive for with our students. This is just a more digestible way for our students and families to understand that, bring it home, and know what each Pivot student stands for. Next, we wanted to create a common language and common set of expectations across all 4 school sites of what our students should be doing in order to succeed. So you can see some of these on all of our campuses of how we show our Pivot Pride on campus. So how do you show perseverance? How do you live up to all these things in different settings, in virtual workshops, at home? So now we have a common language around it. Then building the culture in the community. One way we wanted to do that was through monthly pep rallies. We know our students, it's kind of an homage to traditional schools, but making it pivot. And we know our students come to us because they want something different, but they often crave those traditional school things as well. So we're creating yearbooks, we're coming to you all for a prom and things like that. So we wanted to do pep rallies, but in a way that was accessible for our students and fun for them. So we do virtual pep rallies the first Friday of each month for elementary school, middle school, and high school. Those have been really fun. We get over 100 kids on Google Meet
That's
participating.
more than actually log in. No.
Does that count for attendance?
Yeah, it should.
Actually, this much it does.
What do you do?
So we have lesson plans that are created. We have engaging games, activities. We focus on one of the different characteristics each month. We do different games, and we see students on there who come to site and you never hear a word from them, and they're in these virtual pep rallies participating, putting a lot of stuff in the chat. There's a lot of interactive tools that we use online, and just building those social emotional competencies, and also getting to see other students at other sites, like students who said at these pep rallies, I didn't know this many students went to this school. They've never seen that many students at one time often as part of Pivot, so it's been huge in building that culture and community, and students have given a lot of great feedback and staff as well. Go to the next slide. So another part of this is each month, to go along with having a pep rally, we have a challenge that students complete that go along with each of the characteristics. And that might be a kindness challenge where they're doing 20 acts of kindness around campus. It might be volunteering and helping others. It might be completing their planners, going to all their workshops, so different things that will help them be successful. And if they do that, these challenges, they earn badges. So some students are really into that. They get these badges on their curriculum, and we have different incentives that we're still trying to build out that they can use their badges for. And then the last piece was how to provide social emotional learning to our students, how to build their capacities for goal setting, for continuing to have motivation, mindset, relationship skills, all things that we know our students struggle with, and they've told us that they need help with, and that we've seen through the program they need help with. And we looked around at different social emotional learning curriculums out there. There's quite a few, and ultimately though we decided to create our own. So the counseling team and myself have created a Pivot, tailored to Pivot students, beautiful social emotional learning curriculum. You can see some examples here that we deliver straight to our education coordinators, and they do in their weekly homeroom. So every Friday there's 3 social emotional learning lessons each month. ECs deliver that to their students in small groups, so they're building that community with their students, focusing on different skills that are going to help them in life and in school. So you can see about motivation, about keeping high standards, trying their best, and gotten again great feedback from staff and students on these. And yeah, so we're just continuing to build that out.
That's incredible, that whole effort. That is really cool. Well done.
And
The
if
whole team.
you remember 2 years ago, it was a gap.
That is
Along
incredible.
comes Kristen and a reorganization.
Right, like
chart,
bullseye with what we
bam.
stand for and what we're trying to do and how we're trying to guide our students. That's great.
And yeah, huge shout out to Jasmine Lasper Nunez and Erin Rutten. We've been working really hard on this as well as creating this. So it's been great. And we've just completed our second social emotional learning survey. We get about 600 student responses, and we're really hoping to see some growth already as we move forward.
600 student responses.
That's
pretty amazing.
crazy.
Yeah.
Those unique student responses or?
Yes.
Wow. That's like 75% participation or something.
Yeah.
Exactly, and that
Wow.
never happens, right? And it's all because of the momentum. And Kristen mentioned she kind of rolled it out a soft start last year, and then all the curriculum was, and again, it was Jasmine and Erin and Kristen, but Kristen's really spearheaded this as Director of Student Support Services.
Is this the class how to look cool on a street corner?
No, this is actually at Palomar College.
Oh,
It's a
those boys.
It's a field trip. Those are our kids, man. All right, thank you, Kristen and Erin and Jasmine and everybody, all of the teachers who are implementing the social emotional learning and getting your students to attend all the pep rallies and the homerooms. Differentiated instruction and intervention programs for diverse learners, focusing on their individual needs and personalized pathways. Abigail and Kristen literally board members created individual plans for all the students that were returning this year, for whatever, all the reasons, that did not finish, all the middle school students in elementary. Sarah did elementary as well with you, right? Sarah, yeah, you did most of them? Okay. We call them bridging courses, so that they could actually make up what they didn't do last year, because the heck, I'm gonna let them not learn those skills and then shove them into the next grade level, and then also start their next grade level. 87 students have also, this is really important to your budget and what you approved last year, board members. 87 students have received math and or reading intervention with our new intervention specialist, John Giacinto. And I just love saying his name. I'm probably saying it completely wrong. I kind of sound Italian when I do it. That's just so far this year. Okay, and that was a staffing addition, making it full-time like that for this year. 14 middle school students have those individualized bridging plans, and it's hit or miss, but they had their chance, and they wrote these one-on-one, like total individualized plans for these kids. So it is our strength for unlocking student potential. Thank you, Abigail and Kristen, on that. And it was the first time we've ever done that. I forget where that is, but I think it's to the San Diego. Gail is online, she'll probably tell us, but that's the fall trip, field trip that they took. And it really comes down to, and we say this every year, and I don't want to lose sight of that, really our greatest strength is the caring culture, right? We meet kids where they're at. It's 28-1, for the most part, of an educational coordinator for their students. They have daily check-ins, they have constant communication. The kid knows that they care, they know that they're meeting them where they're at. And that's really important for us in our success of unlocking student potential. We have high expectations though, even though we have students coming to us with huge deficits in skills and credits and making it up, we have high expectations. Abigail and the team, the leadership team worked on, but it was mostly Abigail as far as logistics, and then it was Luis and Sam, worked on revamping how we place students in classes. And we're not going to go into deep detail on that this time, but you're going to hear more about it at the next board meeting because of the categories that we're falling into at the state level and what we're doing. But we're not going to dive incredibly deep into that today. But understand that we've also implemented AB 104 waivers for classes. During COVID, they allowed us to waive certain requirements. And we're continuing to do that so that we have less five-year students, because you're about to look at our graduation rate. And it's all going to make sense as we go through the data. And data-driven decision-making, ensuring continuous improvement and accountability. You should see their spreadsheets, let me tell you. I actually had a link, I took it out. Again, we're supposed to be high level today, but you all asked to see how we are doing on certain areas. But the data that we are tracking and how we're doing it, and the fact that we have different people coming at it from different perspectives as opposed to one person, has made all the difference in the world. So, attendance. We also changed the way we did it. We collect attendance with the work samples and work products. There we go. Next time we play Jeopardy, you have the answer, right? But look at the changes.
Yeah, right.
Okay, you're going to see the net impact on this in the budget tomorrow when Liz gives her presentation, but you can do the math. You've been around long enough, you know how this works, right? So the attendance rates, the average daily attendance rate, highest since 2021 for North Bay, highest since 2021 for North Valley, highest ADA, that's different at P1, but their attendance rate went down a little bit, but it was still very, very good. And San Diego went up over last year, but San Diego's always had the highest attendance rate. Okay, attendance rate, percentage of attending school, which then leads to ADA, right?
That's a lot of money.
Yeah,
What? Go ahead.
the North Valley's is actually their highest ever. The highest since 2021 is their ADA, which is not shown
Oh,
here.
sorry.
But yeah,
We got mushed.
yeah,
We got
North
mushed
Valley has the
together.
highest ever people
Ever.
ADA this year.
Ever.
So the high school attendance
Sorry,
rate in our high
attendance rate.
school was like 91.
Yeah.
They're trying to get it to 95.
Yeah.
So that's like getting up there.
Absolutely,
Mhm.
especially
really
when
good.
we were in the 70s years ago.
That's
Right?
incredible.
And every year it has, more or less had an upward trend. This was a huge difference, the way that the teachers have to track attendance this year. Again, we're not going to go into detail on that today.
No.
Just explain Riverside. I didn't understand
So
what you said.
ADA is the sum of it all that we submit. So if they had 100 students at 100% attendance, we get 100 ADA, right? And then we get paid off of 100. But we don't have 100% attendance rates. So their attendance rate went down a little bit, but still their P1 ADA went up. And I have another slide that'll show a little bit better.
And I have all the details in the
Okay.
presentation.
In the presentation
tomorrow.
tomorrow,
It
yeah.
has all the people.
Bottom line, this is freaking awesome. Thank you, teachers. This is
Amazing.
amazing. Thank you, Abigail, and everyone that worked with her. And we went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. I don't even think we had it all worked out until August, but it worked. So, and getting everything into school pathways is what helped us. Also, board members, you need to know, the other thing that you're gonna see the financial impact on, and I wanted this in here because it does affect how we talk about things later. We had the lion's share of our enrollment that we had budgeted for and targeted in our budgets earlier in the year. Right? Remember January is always like, oh, we're hoping we're gonna catch up.
Right.
Earlier in the year. We're at 837 students enrolled right now. You can talk about that later. I know. So we may be changing things of OEN things, but that's what we have, 837, and 800 was our target. But we got,
And
the
catching it
difference
early, you get the
is,
full money.
bingo,
Yeah.
huge difference.
I mean, I know what DOS is, but I know how the money flows.
And that's more important for the board's
Yeah.
job and the responsibilities. Yes.
And we get paid on an average, so
Right.
if we have that enrollment earlier, it's
That's
so
right.
much easier on the teachers to be able to maintain a more constant caseload instead of being
Mhm.
under-enrolled and then having to like stress them out with too much students.
It's also gotta be easier adding students earlier so you have them for the long period of time. and-
Make a bigger impact, exactly. All right. That is, I think that's, huh?
North Valley?
Yeah,
Really?
no. I don't know.
That's the San Diego Old Town trip.
That's what I thought it was. I was gonna say downtown trip, but that doesn't look like downtown. It's Old Town. Thank you, Gail.
Hi, Gail, Dr. Gail. I didn't know Dr. Gail
It
was
was,
out
oh, it was
there.
Julianne. Sorry. No, it was Julianne.
We have the privilege of USC Dr. Gail on the call, huh?
No, that was Julianne. It was Julianne. Sorry, I said it wrong. I thought it was, I can't tell. I'm not watching. She's watching. All right. So this is average daily attendance. This is what we submit to the state that we get paid off of. Okay?
These are the numbers that we said were the highest since 2020, 21 here. So we kind of went down and then back up. Same at North Valley, kind of down, and now we're back up. Yep. Riverside is the highest ever.
Ever.
Wow.
They also had the most students ever. So,
That's great.
hate to tell you, board, but we're running out of space there, but, well, that's for another day.
For Riverside, we knew that.
Yeah.
But we didn't. We bought that to grow into.
Mhm.
And we were successful. So, I.
Feel better about that $500,000.
Going right back
Before we
up
did.
to 19, 20.
Yeah.
So we're getting there. All right,
Right, it's accepted.
so another big win. Now, for these next couple of slides, I want you to understand again our student population. This is, thank you, Jasmine, oh, there you are. This is the re-enrollment rate. So why I really need you to understand this, and all of our partners, our authorizers, everybody needs to understand. And this is getting better as far as re-enrollments, it's going up. But we're not educating the same kids this year that we were last year.
By design, though.
Yeah.
Right? I mean.
Yeah, I think we're becoming
We're
more
becoming.
of a they're staying, but it's really important when you look at our dashboard to know it's apples and kiwis almost. It is changing, right? But it's important for you to just, take that into consideration. So we did K-12, but also high school. The reason why I did high school is because I wanted you to see when we're talking about graduation rates. They're not the same kids. And then we get seniors that have like 9
But
credits.
this goes back to how we have to educate and back to what is a pivot student? It's a lot of things.
Exactly.
But this is like to show counselors in schools, many of our students are a safe place to be after an event in life.
Yeah.
But they're trying to continue their education and get their confidence back and get whatever. And then they may want to choose to go back to the traditional
Exactly.
school. And that's wonderful. And we're not creating the crop. We're not. And some of our students, because you all have created such a great environment, this is their home. So I don't know what percentage that should be. I don't even know what we shoot for there.
Well,
But it's
most charters
interesting.
run around 80 to 85% that are similar to ours, and
But don't you have a natural fall off just because of graduations?
no, that's taken into
That's
account.
taken.
Yeah, that's taken.
Okay.
Traditional schools, it's like 90
Right.
some odd percent because it's their school of residence, right?
Right.
So, and of course in California that's changing because people are just leaving California, but
Mhm.
So, again, just Pivot wide, 56% roughly of the high schoolers when we're talking graduation rates. North Bay, about 58, North Valley 53, Riverside's the highest. Riverside's 64 and San Diego is 68%, meaning the same students from one year to the next, right? One student can change this really quickly because they're so small, right? But just to give you some idea, critical insight. Okay, moving along. That is San Diego. Yes, and that was the beginning of the new block, I think, right? San Diego teachers, anybody on? Yeah, beginning of the new block projects that they were working on, making it fun. So, all right. Growth areas. We're great, but we're not perfect. So we're going from great to greater, right? Areas we need to focus on. You already, Abigail did an amazing presentation on our dashboard. These things are reflected in our dashboard, other than the last one, and in our dashboard, right? So and in our LCAP, our LCAP, which we're going to talk about tomorrow. Okay, these are all things except for this last one, right? So,
I
again,
was certain LCAP was going to be a question answer, but I was forbidding it to Ralph, and you never even.
it was too easy. I did them rather hard on you.
Yeah, the none of them were very easy.
You're trying to teach us, yeah.
I was using it as a teaching tool. So several of you, we weren't going to dive as, sorry, no, I did not say that, Dr. Halverson. We weren't going to go into detail on these things as much, but several of you did ask, Jana, we heard we're not looking great on our dashboard. We as board members want to know. Pat said specifically, I want to know how you know if what you're doing is working. And my answer was, and I just have to say this, my answer was this, standard sort of, city manager to their council members. Well, we're not going to get the real data and it won't be released until the fall, December of next year. And she goes, that's not the answer I want to hear. You should know before next December. And I knew she was right? And I'm like, yes. I said, you're absolutely right. We do have a ton of ways that we are tracking this. I'm only going to give you a quick flyby on it of what we're doing, because you heard our dashboard and our test scores weren't great. You heard that in August. You heard the dashboard. You heard the presentation from Abigail. And then what we've done and how we're measuring it. That was the added piece I really heard Pat on. So. No. We're going to talk about it separately. Sorry, that was just my. So graduation rates historically. If you remember the colors from the dashboard, they were on here, and I wasn't going to mess around with somebody else's table, but we won't talk about that as much. So it is, it went up in 21, 22, and it's varying degrees of changing and going back up. So
Is that estimated?
these are estimated. So remember the amazing spreadsheets I told you? And it's not like the Lindsay spreadsheets that all the teachers have to be in. Literally, Abigail is tracking every senior, every class, every grade, everything, and coming up with what is a reasonable estimate of what we should be shooting for and can reasonably attain.
That would be incredible.
So Abigail, do you want to speak to a little more specifically, or did we do okay?
Yeah, I think this is kind of to Pat's point of tracking where we are each year. So as students graduate, we get to move them to the they made it category, but this is our best estimate based on how many credits students have left after each block. So that kind of indicates whether they're on track or not. And this was made possible. This is the first year we ever could have done this because we used to place students by credits. So we would have students in their 4th year of high school in 9th grade. The dashboard doesn't care where we place students. They are a cohort of students. So it's based on the year they start and whether or not they graduate on that indicator is if that's by their true 4th year. So we redesigned that. Like Jana said, we've extended the idea of AB 104 waivers, which only covered 2 years of students under the law. But we know students, and it was only for 11th and 12th graders during 2020. We know that 9th and 10th graders were affected still. We know that our students are coming to us with lots of experiences, so we've extended that and we make very custom schedules to try to increase the number of students who started the year with a path to graduate by the end of the year. So that has really helped us with this, and we're also raising expectations for our seniors, finding ways to show the state that they're college and career prepared, which we talked a little bit about.
Okay, but it's still a target, growth area where we have to focus on it. I think all of the changes that have been implemented
working,
at Abigail,
definitely.
it's, the proof will be in the pudding ultimately, but we are tracking the metrics that it is working, correct? And just for the board's sake, for those of you who weren't even on the board back then, the reason why we put kids in their grade level based on credits is because we didn't want to say you're a senior when they only have 19 credits and they have 200 more to go, right? And so back in the old days, pre-dashboard, pre all of these heavy, absolute heinous consequences of the testing, right? Before that, that was a cool individual thing that Pivot did to motivate kids and to tell a real story. But gone are the days that we can do that, and it's helping us ultimately, and you'll see that a little bit later. So this is graduation rates.
Pat's insight was great. By the
Oh
way.
yeah, oh absolutely,
I'm glad
absolutely.
we're doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I didn't, because I looked at the calendar, I'm like, yeah, it's gonna be April before I see you all again. So that even made more sense to me. So Abigail just spoke to this. It's helping with state testing because a junior is actually a junior. And so they test and they're a junior. Clarity of credits needed for graduation. Sort of, it helps there a little bit. It helps us. Certainly the waivers are helping too. And it helps us track the kids a lot better, right? Now that there's serious stakes, we can no longer do it the way we used to. And she mentioned the AB 104 allowed us to waive it, and we are continuing to do it so students graduate on time, because they just become either dropouts or fifth-year seniors, and it works against that graduation rate. It works against our dashboard, and. So like Abigail said, that the key phrase of what Abigail said was, we've got individualized paths for all of them at the beginning of the year that will give them the greatest chance of graduating that year. And it's not just seniors. The reality is those people are having to really look at their sophomores and juniors, because they need to be looking now for next year. And we're going to talk more about concurrent enrollment. And we talked about So next, from the dashboard, the next area of growth is the career and college and career indicator that didn't apply. That's what those two middle blank years are. Did not apply to charter schools in 20 to 22. But it is back in play on the dashboard. These were our scores. And again, I'm not going to
What
talk.
is this? Can you explain what this means?
Yes, and Abigail did at the November meeting, but it's a lot of detail. But very quickly, our students prepared for post high school things by careers, the career technical classes, careers, and college, meeting A through G requirements. And there's all these formulas that Abigail did kind of go into in November that we can do again in April because we're going to need to for you, but again, high level. Taking a junior college class, taking 2 junior college classes means it's good, right? And there's like 4 different ways. Again, we're not going to go into detail because she did a little bit, she did a lot actually back in November, but it's a lot. We did the entire dashboard. But there's 4 different ways for the state to say this student is prepared, right? Ian, who just graduated early, took how many community college classes, junior college classes?
Maybe like 4. He took quite a few.
Yeah.
But he was
Right.
also A through G and also has more on SBAC prepared. He was like triple prepared.
Yes, so their test scores, the results of the kids' test scores, and whether or not they had the UCCSU A through G course requirements, and concurrent enrollment are ways that they can say that they are prepared, right? And CTE plays in there. And it's a combination, this mathematical combination, but just 2 concurrent enrollments. And if you remember Abigail saying, that's low-hanging fruit. That's what we're focusing on. We're not going to get all of our kids A through G.
No.
And we're not going to get all of our kids to get a 3 on the state testing.
Well, nor do we're not about
It's
getting
not-
our kids
that's not our
AG.
mission.
That's not our mission.
So hence, huge focus on this.
On the dual enrollment, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Huge.
What would we expect to see, our authorized scores. Like,
What would they expect to see?
what do they look like?
What percentage?
Yeah,
I will notes to selves. We
because
will
I don't know what
prepare
this
that
means
data.
without a comparison.
Yeah, this is very, very low. These were all in what they call the red low category, and some of them were very, very low.
So remind me, go ahead, Steve.
I was just gonna ask, so even though it's not a remission, do the authorizers view us as having to do this
Yes,
anyhow?
we have,
And that's why we're
That's why
we're really paying a lot of attention to this.
exactly, because given our mission, we are not going to be able to make huge needle moves
Yeah.
by A through G as being our focus. We're still doing A through G, don't get me wrong, but that's not it.
We're not pushing our
gonna
kids
do
to the
it,
UC system.
and we're not pushing them into the UC system. And we're not gonna be able to do it based on when they're coming into us and all the gaps in their skills by them kicking butt on the 1 year that a high schooler actually takes the state standardized testing and gets a 3. While we are doing lots of things to make them perform better and move that needle, that's not the primary one. This is the one that we can make the most impact on our students.
So I know you don't want to we don't get the detail on this, I get it, but remind me, like, so John's construction class.
Yes,
Um,
career and technical education.
Like, if that, and we had the coding and computer, so I'm more interested in that
Yeah.
first. How do we get credit in there? Do we?
Yeah, so because of there's a lot of criteria that can check this box for a student. CTE certainly plays a role in that. What the state's done is for many of these, they're a two-parter. So CTE acts as like a part 1, and then they have to meet another sub-requirement under a completed CTE pathway, which includes SBAC, junior college enrollment. So that's definitely a way we can check that box. I think the really cool thing we're learning is the 2 classes at a junior college doesn't have a subcategory. If you do 2 classes, you're checked off. It's the simplest one to understand. And if you just think about a student, if we connect them with their community college, that's a resource for the rest of their lives. We have students in welding classes at Santa Rosa Junior College. We have a student in San Diego who has completed 6 water tech classes towards a certification. He's doing another 3. He could have graduated early. He's staying with us for free tuition to the junior college. That's a student with an IEP. So it's students of all backgrounds, 504s, English language learners have succeeded at the junior college. So it's really through the work of Luis, we've seen, wow, all of our students can do this. And then this indicator, the heart of it is to know that students, when they graduate from high school, have the ability to succeed in life. And we feel so good if we can get them through the door at their local community college, which is the resource. We had our graduation there, and the director of student services said, this is your school. This is, talking to the parents, this is your school, your place to be. So CTE definitely plays a role. We love the programs we have, but because of the way the criteria is written, we still have to check another box for that one, which is just, it makes it more complicated.
Thanks. That's great.
Plus, if you think about it, we don't have, maybe at each one of our school sites, where we have between 30 and 50% of our students come to the school site. So Anna's and John's on-site CTE class, they're both incredibly popular. It's serving just a small percentage of kids. The Microsoft one's serving more because it's pivot wide, and it's online. But we are not in a position to have a welding class here, or a cooking class, or a car repair. What do they call it in the CTE world, right?
So you need to be though, that connection.
We did that with
Exactly.
Central College.
Right.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
You picked up my point.
No, she's
Exactly,
on.
and her point, yes. And then Kristen and I met last week, and now Kristen and Abigail are working on this because they were talking about this before. We have a gazillion CTE classes online. It makes it a little bit overwhelming, and then they don't choose, so we're gonna focus, and they're gonna rewrite the classes and give more pathways, so it's a little bit more focused rather than so overwhelming. So you got the point there,
Absolutely.
and that's North Valley. All right, what are we doing? You just heard a lot of it, but this is just some data. Thank you, Luis, if you are out there. So I love this, no matter what this is, they tried it, right? 46 kids this past fall, and then spring for this next semester at junior colleges. We have 42 enrolled, okay? 25 of them passed as of the writing of this slide. right? So it's huge, and we need to do more, and we want to do more, and we're going to do more, and we can track it really, really well. So, and just so you know, there's a difference between concurrent enrollment at the junior colleges and dual enrollment. Concurrent enrollment is all these kids that went to the junior college and took a class. Dual enrollment, first time ever, thank you, Luis, and Santa Rosa Junior College. A Santa Rosa Junior College professor is doing a class originally just for Pivot students.
Oh, wow.
Pivot wide online.
Wow.
That is dual enrollment. Okay, it's just, yeah, so very cool.
What's the class?
It was art for this, it's art right now. And then, as you can see, we're gonna expand it in the fall to be Spanish, because that's UC, and look how many boxes we're trying to check.
That's smart.
Right? So,
That's strategic with the resources we have.
exactly,
Yeah. no, that's
exactly.
great.
And it connects us to the community.
Yes.
Too. Connects, so we have arms reaching out and back.
Mm-hmm.
Does this kind of stuff help put? Oh, perhaps I'll say this. At some point, we need to be connected to the city of Santa Rosa and maybe a school district there.
Maybe.
And the more we're connecting to these things, I would hope the school district would see that we're a partner and we're real, and
Absolutely.
this all helps. So,
Absolutely.
You know, I was thinking the same thing, Jim, about the city of Santa Rosa, because some of the technical classes, and I was pleased to hear that someone was taking water tech classes or something. That's one of the greatest needs that we have in cities.
Yes.
Because people just aren't going into
No.
those fields anymore. And being able to make the connection.
yes.
And maybe establish an apprenticeship program where they, you know, accumulate so many credits, and then they can do an
Right.
apprenticeship with the city where they get paid, you know.
You
so-
may sit on a board that's helping put those apprenticeship programs together for cities.
Really?
Wow.
That's amazing.
And maybe you can work with the city of Santa Rosa and Pivot to create that.
Well, and the city manager of Santa Rosa is one of my good friends, so.
I love it.
Not before you establish our wastewater program in Atascadero.
But I think it's a great way
Yeah. No,
to
serious.
create the partnership with the city, but also to allow the students to go beyond the classwork and really see what the career opportunities are for them.
So to Pat's point, really, in Atascadero, I just met with the superintendent and the assistant superintendent, instructional, whatever, Thursday about an apprenticeship program. We're going to take high school seniors and they're starting their first semester. They're going to have their ethnic studies course, whatever that's required, and then there's not a second semester. So that second semester for this cohort of 8 to 10 students, they will then switch over to us, and they'll work from 1:30 to 5 every afternoon. They'll get credits for that. We'll pay them to learn wastewater worker, police cadet, and we're going to do zookeeper, because these are areas where I have a hard time.
Yeah.
And so for their senior year, they'll do that, and then when the summer hits, they'll work full time as an apprentice, and then in the fall, if it's all working out, they'll keep working. And if we have a job for them, great. If we don't, we'll refer them out to other cities, and then we'll start the cohort again. And so we are going to do that, but I do need ILG. No.
Yeah.
But Pastor's on the board for the Institute of Local Government. But I think that's the kind of thing, we're going to do that. So I don't know if you have connections, that's another thing that makes us more credible in serving the community. And then we go to a local school board and say, what do you mean you don't want to authorize this? Look what we're doing.
Yeah, and just to connect it back to the dashboard, like I said, there's like 15 ways to be prepared. Another single checkbox is an apprenticeship program.
Yes.
We
Great.
don't have right now the bandwidth to invest in that, but students who participate in an apprenticeship program can receive that big check because it makes sense. That they're obviously prepared for a
Right.
career. They're literally already working.
Here it
So,
is.
yeah.
Great.
Right? And this is what Abigail shared for each one of our
Good to see that.
dashboards, are colored little wheels that goes into it,
Great.
right? But again, we as the leadership team are taking input from staff and students and the surveys on, and we just know, because we're the leadership team too, and this is our job to know this, what ones can we most successfully implement? We can't shotgun it, let's target, right? We are doing all of it everywhere, but we need to target specific ones. So I'd love to partner with Ms. Martell and the internships on that. I had no idea. That's awesome. Okay. So, we just talked about that. Oh, I did put the link in here. I didn't think I did.
Oh,
The amazing spreadsheet of,
That's students' names.
no, it does not. I blocked it out.
I have access.
Oh, you don't have access because I do. Sorry, never mind. It's okay. I already blocked out students' names. Remember I told you I was going to download it? I was going to show you the wonderful tracker to show you how we are tracking it and keeping track of it. It's okay. The wonderful tracker of Abigail's. So chronic absenteeism is another one that's showing up on our dashboard, big boo-boo, right? In the eyes of the state because we are super, super low, super red, very low to low, wanting to move that needle up. All right, this is what happened. Now, keep in mind, this is really important for you to understand. Liz had to remind me, actually. Chronic absenteeism is defined as students who miss 10% of the school days in that, between September and December,
It's
basically.
like 2 days.
So, it's,
Right.
no, it's,
P1's
It's
no.
November, isn't it?
two, but it's for K through 8 on the dashboard.
Yeah, on the dashboard only. They don't count high school kids.
Well,
on
this
the
is prior
dashboard.
to P1. When's
P1
P1?
is
November?
December.
Oh,
And
December.
yeah. Liz has to.
I think the dashboard is up for P2 though.
So there's like 60,
P1. Anyway.
was like 60 to 80 school days in there. So 10%, 6 to 8 days.
Yeah. Yeah, so actions that are being taken to address this. Now, remember, if you saw those wonderful attendance rates going up, right? The, 86, 89, all going up. Just because they go up does not mean we're going to be able to affect our chronic absenteeism rate. Because the students that miss that 10%, whatever the date is, that miss that 10% are probably, maybe, are going to be the ones that continue to miss it. Even if our attendance rates are going up, it doesn't necessarily correlate directly to increasing or making our chronic absenteeism. But obviously, everything we do can affect the chronic absenteeism rate. Again, we're using everything in School Pathways, our student information system, sending out daily emails when a student has not engaged, has not logged in. And then weekly truancy reports telling the parent how many days the student didn't do diddly squat. In the past, it was monthly at best, and it wasn't as automated as it was and as accurate and clear as it was. And very, very many more student success team meetings with the MTSS that Kristen oversees. And we brought in administrators, the site administrators, to attend the student study team meetings. They're happening much sooner. More things are happening. She has a spreadsheet, Ms. Kristen has a spreadsheet that is immense about tracking all of the meetings and when it happened and what the follow-up was and who's got what, and she sits in on them as well. Lots going on there to try to affect chronic absenteeism. And we track it daily, literally. That was a change to the attendance system. We track it daily now. You know how often it was tracked before? Monthly. Because we weren't using School Pathways, we were using spreadsheets. Gone are those days. Streamline. Favorite word. This is the same slide. I just reworded it, but I wanted to point out that just because our attendance rates are going to go up doesn't mean that it doesn't have a direct correlation at chronic absenteeism. I changed my slides and I forgot to take out one. Okay, opportunities. Great. Anybody, growth areas, any questions from the board about what we're doing, how we're tracking it, or why we think there are areas for growth? That's pretty obvious.
Thanks.
Okay? It's really cool.